Hero in Shining Feathers by Ella A. Duncun. When the doorbell rang that Easter morning, our 2-year-old Susie found a duckling nested in a basket on the front step. It was just a round yellow ball of fluff with 2 black shining beads for the eyes and a curious ebony bill that went poking about constantly into everything. Susie was ecstatic when the duckling scrambled from his basket and waddled at her heels about the room. For him, there was no one else in the world but Susie. When she walked, he followed. When she ran, he rolled over and over like an animated yellow tumbleweed, trying to keep up with her. Susie named the duck Waddles, and together that summer in the high-fenced backyard, they found a complete world of magic. To Anne, the maid, and to me, it was amazing. The 2 chased butterflies, built castles in the sandbox, played hide-and-go-seek among the shrubs. Waddles grew to be larger than most other ducks, and was a strong, handsome fellow. 2 years later, when baby Carol came, after silently studying the new red mite, Waddles suddenly beat his great wings against his side, let out a triumphing honk, and settled down purposely beside the bassinet. With that wild foreign cry, Waddles was proclaiming to the world that he was at last an adult, that on his shoulders he had descended the grave responsibility of guard for the new helpless being. John had finally had to pick him up and carry him, protesting and hissing, outside. As the weeks passed, it finally seeped through Waddles' small duck brain that the only time his guardian act was necessary was when baby Carol was put in the backyard for her sunbath. When that time drew near, he was always waiting. In a restrained frenzy of excitement, he would settle beneath the carriage, every bit of his big body at strained attention. I had reason to give thanks for Waddles as an aid to child rearing. It was impossible to teach Susie and her friends to close the back gate, but with Waddles around, neither man nor beast could enter that gate. Then a plague of rabies broke out among the dogs of the town, and one Saturday morning, when baby Carol was in the backyard with Waddles on guard beneath the carriage, a friend phoned. "I just saw a dog turn into your driveway, and if I know a mad dog, that's one is." Prickles of fright broke down my spine, and I thought, the back gate. Had one of the children left it open? On legs that threatened to buckle, I started for the yard. Before I was halfway through the house for the second time in Waddles' life, I heard that high, wild honk, and I knew. Screaming for Anne, I burst through the back door upon a scene that will remain with me for the rest of my days. Not 3 yards from the baby was a huge dog with red, unfocused eyes and dripping mouth. Flying to meet him was Waddles, wings outstretched, and ebony beaks snapping and cracking like small angry machine gun. I knew that Anne was close behind me with the broom. Then I lost sight of everything but the desire to gather my baby in my arms and race for safety. Somehow I made it. With Anne and her broom flanking as support, she slammed the back door behind us and ran to call the police. Weak with fear, I leaned against the closed door and listened to the uncanny battle outside. The blood-chilling growls and the muttering barks of the mad dog told me that Waddles was fighting him all over the backyard. Their bodies bumped and thrashed against the side of the house and the porch. And then the slapping of Waddles' big wings and the snapping of his beak and the duller sound of the dog's jaws would dim him out. Then I heard Waddle's first squawk of pain. There was not a gun in the house, and the police could not possibly get there in time. I prayed that Waddles would somehow realize his danger and fly out of reach before it was too late. But all the time I knew he would not. His stout heart simply would not let him stop fighting until the enemy was driven from his yard. The squawks and barks grew gradually lessened, and did the sound of the fight until there was a muffled shot. And then it was an ominous, deadly quiet. One of the officers came to the door. "I want you to see a sight you will never see again," he said. The backyard was a shambles. Chairs had been upset. Flowers and shrubs were beaten down. Baby Carol's carriage had been overturned and crisscrossing the sandbox that once held so much happiness for a small blonde girl and a little yellow duck were dark red stains. In the open gateway, a wingtip touching the fence on either side, lay Waddles, his broken neck outstretched and his ebony beak turned scarlet. Just beyond lay the body of the dog. "I don't think the bullet was necessary," said the officer, looking with wonder at the dog's mutilated head. Some inborn instinct from his wild, dim past must have inspired Waddles to hold out until he, at last, drove the enemy from his little plot of earth he held so sacred. Sorry guys, I'll get better at this.